Good evening, thank you, and welcome to the Winthrop Town Council joint meeting with the Winthrop Planning Board. It's May 6, 2025. We are at the Robert DeLeo Senior Center. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and roll call, please.
Council Aiello.
Here.
Council DeMarco.
Here.
Council Costigan.
Here.
Council Tassinari.
Here.
Council Swope. Present. Council DeRoss. Vice President Belcher. Here. President Lettieri.
Here.
Okay. Chris Boyce.
Here.
Sarah Jane Fornes.
Here.
Alyssa Gamble.
Here.
Anna Merceret. Here. Jason Palutro.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge, and please remain standing after the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please remain standing. I just learned of the passing of Jerry DeFonso about a week past. Jerry was a longtime Winthrop resident, longtime resident at the Pillar House, and Jerry brought a lot to this community. Jerry started the White King Association in Winthrop and would come to council meetings on a yearly basis to talk about that. I would like to, John Morgan is here, and John would like to say a few words about his dear friend Jerry.
Thank you, Council President. I knew Jerry for 30 years, and in that time, Jerry taught me everything that I know. And I can't say thank you enough to Jerry for that. I mean, Jerry's accomplishments over the past 60 years for advocacy for the blind and the hearing impaired are just legendary at the State House. If you ever went to the State House and Jerry knocked on your door and you didn't answer it, boy, were you in trouble. It really hit me hard when I heard that. Jerry's accomplishments were so many that there's not enough time to mention them all. I just want to say thank you to the council president for this, and I just want to say, Jerry, rest in peace, and thank you for everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Just a moment of silence, please, for Jerry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for making me.
We're having a joint meeting tonight. First of all, I want to thank Chris and the planning board for all being here. I know you guys all have busy schedules, and it's greatly appreciated that you're here tonight with us. This is concerning the ADU. It's just, and I would like to ask our attorney, Jim Cipolletta, to give us an overview, and then we'll talk a little bit about the process and what will entail over the next handful of months. Councilor Cipolletta.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members of the Town Council, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. On February 2nd of 2025, as a result of the Affordable Homes Act that was signed into law in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in 2024, the concept of an accessory dwelling unit, otherwise known as ADU, was introduced statewide. It's mandated by state law. It gives the cities and towns some discretion, some ability to restrict, some ability to regulate, but by and large, similar to other legislation we've seen come down the road in the past 5 or so years, it boxes us in to an extent by restricting what we can do to make changes to the model ADU ordinance that was established by or published by the state. We've done that where we have made adjustments to what was recommended by the state and what is mandated by the statute, and by no stretch, this is not a may impose, may adopt, this is a shall, and it is a zoning ordinance amendment. So as you see in the literature that you have before you, we have a section 17, and we will fill in the specific subsections to those as this moves through the planning board, and I know this will be referred to subcommittee of the council, both entities having the opportunity to pay more scrutiny to this and apply whatever reasonable suggestions or alterations or amendments you may feel necessary. So the state has given us definitions, and I'm not going to read the definitions because you have it there, and it would take a little bit too long to do it, but I will summarize it and give you the wave tops as to what an ADU is according to the statute. So an ADU, or an accessory dwelling unit, must be no larger than 900 square feet and may take up no more than 1/2 of the gross floor area of the primary dwelling. The primary dwelling, if you can picture this, would be a one-family house on a residential lot, and then within that primary dwelling, you could establish what's generally known as, and has been historically, as an in-law apartment. We don't have in-law apartments by definition in Winthrop, although a lot of cities and towns do. So as one of the purposes that the state sets out for creating this entity is for senior citizens to have the ability, as they age, to stay close to their families, and the family can build something within the primary dwelling. Also for younger people who want to or need to live at home in a smaller unit and be able to be supported by their family. People with special needs who would prefer to be close to family and live there within the house with the rest of the family unit. And that's basically why the state created this ADU. Now, there are other reasons that they set out in the purpose and intent statute. But this is what we kind of focused on, because we're not looking to overcrowd Winthrop with ADUs and more rentals than we can absorb. In our version that you have, which is the first iteration of the ADU, is that it can exist only in a one-family house. Now, it can exist within the home, or it can exist in a detached structure on the same lot. It must be connected to water, town water and sewer, and have all of the usual accoutrements of an apartment, although it cannot be more than 900 square feet. Cannot be below the FEMA 100-year storm elevation. Cannot be established in a condominium, cannot be established in a duplex, cannot be established in a townhouse. So there's the control that the state had recognized, which we probably would have inserted there nonetheless. It must be within the same, if it's detached, it must be within the same ownership as the principal dwelling. No commercial uses would be allowed in the ADU, whether it's in the primary dwelling or the principal dwelling, or it's detached. Must conform with all building, fire, health, and safety codes. The Inspectional Services Department, the Health Department, the Fire Department, all will need to sign off on a certificate establishing the ADU. Importantly, too, because we have this coming down the road, I think, in the next month or so, is that it may not be used as a short-term rental. So that was one of the things that we thought was very important in a very primary control over the ADU. We did work in some design standards with regard to the enlargement of a principal dwelling to accommodate. We've also set up situations where, especially if it's going to be a detached ADU or the primary dwelling is going to be enlarged, that they need to go to site plan review committee and would have to submit all of the plans and all of the engineering that ordinarily would be required for a building permit and subsequently a certificate of occupancy. We've also taken advantage of our discretion to be a little bit more restrictive with regard to parking. The state would have us establish no parking requirements. We did not take that guideline. What we did is we established parking requirements in certain areas. So, for instance, one of them would be if it's further away than 1/2 mile from a bus depot, a train station, a ferry stop, you're going to have to put parking on the lot for the ADU. The other thing that the manager and I had talked about, and we had run it by some of the people in ISD and the fire department as well, if there's sufficient parking on the lot where the principal dwelling is to accommodate an additional motor vehicle, then you must provide parking for that motor vehicle, even though it might be within 1/2 mile of a bus station or a train station. So, for instance, if it's a one-family house, and one-family house in Winthrop requires 2 parking spaces, if there's 2 garage spaces and a driveway space on the other side, let's say, then that 3rd space would need to be dedicated to the ADU, so as not to put more cars on the street by virtue of establishing the ADU. Couple of things that might be important to look at as well. If the state has given us a little bit of discretion, is that the ADUs will always be subject to inspections, just like any other unit. They would need to be held, the owner of the ADU, as well as the principal residents, would be responsible for complying with all the rules and the regulations that are set out in the CMRs that govern the ADU, as well as our own Section 17 town ordinances. There is an enforcement and penalty provision there. So if anyone who installs an ADU does not comply, then our enforcement entities within town, whether it's the fire department or ISD, Board of Health, so on, can ticket and assess monetary violations and can take other steps to coerce compliance with the ordinance. Other than that, those are the wave tops of it. The state feels that this gives some additional rental income potential for people in the RA district. And by the way, The statute talks about, in the CMRs, refer to single-family zoning areas. We have a single-family zoning area, it's RA, but our single-family zoning also allows, as a matter of right, a two-family. So we're already halfway there. And that's why we thought that for purposes of the ADU, that if one of the goals that the state has set is for people to stay in the home or stay with family or have an in-law apartment, if you already have a two-family house, you already have that. So we thought it was more in keeping with Winthrop's interest and benefit, and also with the general purpose and intent of the statute, because this would be giving something to the owner of a one-family house that they might not have now. Giving it to someone with a two-family house would, number one, be outside the general purpose and intent of the Affordable Homes Act, and also would be creating, maybe without much input by the cities and towns, a three-family house as a matter of right. And it's really interesting that the regulations that govern this are called the Protected by Right Accessory Dwelling Unit. So they are protected, they are mandated, they are as a matter of right. You don't need a variance, you don't need a special permit. The only time a variance would come into play is if, for some reason, in installing an ADU in the principal residence, it would be necessary to build outside the footprint of the house, and if that footprint would encroach into, let's say, the side yard, then they would have to get a variance. They would have to go to site plan review. So we wanted to establish as much control. We wanted to comply with the spirit and the written letter of this law, because we will be under the microscope. But by the same token, do what's best that fits into, the landscape of the town of Winthrop, of the whole seaside type of neighborhoods that we have. We're not looking to establish a lot of different types of uses that are going to be inconsistent with what Winthrop's vision is. The other thing that's mandated, and I didn't see any discretion that we would have, is that the principal dwelling does not need to be owner-occupied. So if someone had a one-family house and was renting it to a current tenant, they could still establish an ADU within that home, or they could build, let's say, in a garage or in an accessory structure, they could still build an ADU. That's a little different from what we have now in our zoning scheme, where when we're talking about lodging houses and short-term rentals and so forth. Some other places in our ordinances, we are requiring that in order to get a specific license to rent out rooms or parts of the home or the building, that it be owner-occupied. The state is not allowing us to do that. And I think that would be shot down on the first go-around from the state and when the AG starts looking at it. So that's the one thing that is a little bit different and sort of quirky in that statute that is inconsistent with our ordinances. But nonetheless, we could not figure a way to amend our ordinance so far away from the state mandate that we wouldn't be called on it and mandated that we change the ordinance, even after it had been adopted. So I know that the planning board is going to need time to digest this, and we'll have follow-up meetings. I realize that that this proposed ordinance is going to the subcommittee for study as well. I'm happy to come to either one of those meetings or either one of the planning board or the subcommittee. There is a lot to digest here. And after just having gone through and still going through the whole MBTA 3A zoning process, this piggybacking on that, I know is a lot of work for the council and for the planning board. So whatever help that I can give, and Tony is, I know I see him pick up the phone and talk about this, people who call in and other volunteers on different boards, because there is a lot of buzz out there about what's this going to mean to the town? What's this going to mean to the tax rate? What's it going to mean to parking? What is it going to mean for, you know, a number of different things, such as property values? So we're cognizant that you're going to take all of that into account. So I'm certainly there. I'm there every day, around every night, usually. And so whatever assistance I can give, let me know. Be happy to come to any of the meetings. And if you have questions, I'll take them now. I know there'll be questions later. And
Is there a
Hey,
timeline for this?
Yeah, excuse me, one sec. I want to thank Attorney Subletta for those comments. I do want to officially open this as a public hearing, and we will be accepting comments and questions from the public as well. Again, thank you for this, and I understand this is going to be a big undertaking. Anna, I'm sorry, I will open up for questions now, and,
Yeah, I didn't mean
yep.
to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
Just procedurally, I'm just curious, you know, what is, do we have to pass something by a certain time so we know what our schedule is and we can coordinate with you, or we can get through our meetings in the way that we need to?
I couldn't hear you all the way over here.
A
Bob.
timeframe we're looking for, but we understand that you have a lot on your plate.
Not surprisingly, and we're not the only ones, this became law on February 2nd, 2025, and that's when the cities and towns were supposed to have this in place. And so we're not the only ones who don't have it in place, so it's not the end of the world. But like anything else, the further you fall behind, the more scrutiny you attract, so.
We're hoping to have some sort of feedback by late June, early July.
I guess one question for you, Attorney Cipolletta. I think super helpful, first of all, that you've given us as much control as we can over kind of a state-mandated by right zoning, but in enforcement and penalties, Section C, you mentioned the table of dimensional regulations that already exist in our zoning govern and regulate the construction of ADUs. Right, that's our existing setbacks, site requirements.
It does.
Two-family requires 10,000 square feet of area. Just as a point of reference, does an ADU then qualify technically as a two-family and fall under the dimensional regulations that we should expect in that zone, or is it not subject to setbacks and site area?
That's an excellent point. They are subject to dimensional regulations. Right. So you're not going to be able to butt up 6 inches to your neighbor's property if you're building one that's an accessory structure or a detached structure, or if you're expanding the existing footprint of the home. You'll still have to go to the Board of Appeals, you'll still have to go through site plan review. This is not carte blanche to build lot line to lot line.
Right, got it. Very, very helpful.
Councilor Aiello, did you have a?
Yeah, just a question on definitions that you may need to get back to us on. Under transit station, it says transit station is a subway station, commuter rail station, ferry terminal, bus station. With respect to ferry terminal, some of the ferry services within Greater Boston Harbor are year-round, and some, like Winthrop, are not. So would a seasonal ferry terminal qualify as a ferry terminal for purposes of the parking requirement exclusion? And the same thing is the definition of a bus station. Is that a station where buses convene, like at Orient Heights, or does it mean any bus stop within a half mile of that? And again, you don't have to answer these questions. I think it would be helpful in the future.
Actually, I
to
came
understand it.
prepared to answer that
You
question.
did? God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't know it was going to come from you, but I knew it was coming.
Okay.
So some of the things that, we had to adopt the definitions that the state gave us, and that definition comes right out of the AHA. And, and in fact, it's set out in, codified in 760 CMR 71.00 and following. Yeah, they give all of these definitions. So we had to adopt those. It's a good question regarding the seasonal ferry, but I don't think it would be anything different from it being a full-service ferry. I think it would, they don't like statutes that, in ordinances that are shifting.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay.
I think it would be permanent.
And then on bus station, is a bus stop?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sarah?
I was wondering just about the procedure of adopting definitions from the state law into this. Is that something they're looking for? Because I could also see where the state law changes a little bit, but then we have the old definition in our ordinance, and that might create confusion. So I'm trying to understand, are we being forced to adopt their definitions, or would it just make sense to refer definitions back to state law?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I think in some of these places where we've set out definitions and we refer it back to the CMR
Okay.
as to where we got it. So if the state should change a definition, we would have to then adopt that definition
Okay.
and change our zoning ordinance.
Counselor Swope?
2 questions. Thanks for your report, by the way. This is very, very helpful. On the single-family zoning issue, since we're zoned only for 1 and 2 family units and we don't have a single-family zoning unit, I'm not sure how those two jive.
Yeah, it does seem a little incongruous. I'm sorry, were you done with the question? I didn't mean
I
to
have
jump
another
into
question,
the
but go
middle of
on.
it. Okay.
I'd like to have
Yeah,
it.
it does seem a little bit incongruous because there are a lot of cities and towns who have single-family zoning, and it means 1 unit. Some of them, like Revere, Chelsea, Winthrop, we allow 1 and 2 families in the single-family zone. So, yes, you can build a single family in the RA, but you can also build a 2-family in the RA. So it's a little bit off kilter to the extent that it's not going to be uniform across the state. But when Tony and I first looked at this and were sort of saying, well, you know, if the goal is to increase housing stock by adding a second unit to a 1-family house in a single-family zone, so in some other town, we've already done that. So that's why we said, well, we can make 2 families by adding the ADU, because ADUs are going to be regulated differently from a second unit because of their size and all of the rest, and what you can and can't do there. I would suspect also, although it doesn't say it, although commercial uses are not prohibited, some commercial uses are allowed in an RA zone if they are like a home occupation. But that wouldn't be allowed in an ADU. So certain things that are home occupations might be an accountant's office or, you know, something of that nature. Our zoning ordinance defines what that is. That's the difference between what you can do in a second unit and what you can't do in an ADU that's a second unit.
So my understanding is that if you have a 2-family home, you're saying that that doesn't count as an ADU, but that does allow you still to have an ADU on your property.
No,
You've restricted that to a
Yeah.
1-family, to a
yes,
1, okay.
yes.
And my second question is, if I were building an ADU and I didn't want to take, and I didn't want necessarily to put parking there, I could place that ADU in such a way that wouldn't allow me to build a driveway or whatever. Is that something that we can control from the planning board or the ordinance?
It does, and the CMRs speak to that, and they say, and that's in the design standards, and we
Yes.
adopted most of their design standards, but, you know, it's not a one thing fits all here. So we don't want, like, we don't allow front yard parking now in Winthrop, theoretically, but if you're gonna build a new house, you can't park in front. You need to park on the side, or in a garage, or in a driveway. Same thing with the ADU. You can't, we have taken our, I think, legal discretion and said, if you're parking in an ADU, you're not gonna park up at the front door, nor are you going to be able to park up at the front door of the principal dwelling. Because you want to keep that look of a single-family zoning district. You don't want to turn it into something that looks like the result of a food fight. So and I think the planning board has more experience at this than, you know, most, so you can figure that out and give comments and make recommendations to the council and change that. You know, but we just thought that it wasn't a good idea to just throw a car anywhere on the lot simply because there was room.
Just a real quick comment, stop, but I went to the assessor's office to find out how many actual single-family homes we have, since we don't have many, but they couldn't give me, they don't know the size of the lot. So I take it, even though we have many single-family homes, maybe we have 4,000, is that right? Is that right, about, right? So I don't know how many would actually accommodate an ADU. And they can't tell me that at the assessor's office, so we don't have.
Right, right.
So, okay.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see, if any, is mostly within a home, so it still looks like a one-family home or whatever it is. Unless you have a good-sized lot or a garage that nobody uses anymore. And I've heard people, I'm going to turn my garage, and rather than the man cave, I'm going to turn it into an ADU. Well, go ahead. So long as it's not more than 900 square feet, you can do it.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else on the planning board?
I had one more question.
Sure.
About the inspections. As I understood it, this would be geared towards families that want to have like a relative living. I mean, that was, I guess, the intent, but you have to give permission to a city municipal department to inspect it with 48 hours notice from the city.
Yeah, that's pretty much what
The intent.
ISD does now anyway.
Okay, but like, if this is, for a single-family house, would you do that for a single-family house?
If you were just building a single-family house?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay, everyone has to.
And everybody would have to sign off on the CO, so, yeah, they do that now.
But doesn't it say once a year?
Yeah, that's what like the
Yeah.
once-a-year
So,
thing.
Yeah, that is, do they do that for like like if you had a two-family and you rented it out, does someone come in every year?
No, they don't. That's, you can strike that. That comes out of the state model, that once a year. And it could be onerous. We got a little bit of a squeak out of ISD when we showed them what the state was proposing. But I think there should be something that requires inspections, and maybe it might be 3 years or 5 years or whatever. Once a year might be a little too often, because they would be doing little else if they were just running around, because they also do the restaurants, the liquor licenses, and, everything else on a yearly basis, the lodging houses, and so forth. And I think that's probably a spillover from the lodging houses, which get inspected every year. So I think an ADU, which is more somebody who's presumably a permanent resident, because short-term residencies are not allowed in an ADU,
Yeah.
then I think, in the planning board's wisdom, come 3 years, 5 years. But I think there should be, and I think the state is going to require us to impose some sort of an inspection requirement, just to be sure that everything is safe and nobody is abusing it. Because it is kind of, to us, it's a new breed of animal here.
I have a quick question regarding the, 900 square feet again. I don't know if you can hear me. 900 square feet maximum. I believe in mass.gov when they were coming out with the new law that there are some provisions for special permitting. For some reason, if they can't get the 900 square feet to work, say they're doing an ADA accessible unit and it's just not working and they need another 100 square feet, that they can apply for special permit under certain circumstances. I don't see that written here, or if we're allowing that. It could be buried, I might have missed it, but.
No, I think you're right. That's hard to control.
Yes.
But in the zoning code, by the way, in the instance, let's say of a handicap ramp, and you need 15 feet back, setback
Right.
from the front yard, that ramp doesn't count when you're encroaching into it, right?
Right.
So I wonder, it would definitely have to go to site plan review. They would determine whether or not they want to send it for a variance. I mean, there are going to be extraordinary circumstances that are not anticipated, when you're first ramping this up. But no, it's not in here. If you want to put it in there, that's a suggestion that I don't think is going to get knocked down by the state.
Right, okay.
So does this have to go, whatever you approve, does that go back to the state for review and then comes back and then
Yes.
you do the final?
Yes, it'll go to HLC, and it's going to the AG's office, and if there are any adjustments that they want us to make, they have my number, yeah.
And I think one of the other things that is written in there as well is, someone can't suddenly make a large addition onto their home to just get the area to work out in their favor for the ADU. That's written into this, right?
Right, yeah.
They can do an addition for something else.
Right,
As
right.
long as it meets the requirements and the setbacks, but they can't do an addition just to get the percentages to work.
Right, that would be bypassing the variance
Right.
ordinance, yeah. You're right about that.
Thank you, and I want to open it up to the public. I know there'll be more questions in the months ahead. I also want to let you know that this presentation is on the town's website, so you could take a look at it as well. Mr. Dowd.
A lot of people know me, some people don't, but I don't know the names of everybody on this planning board. And so the reason why I'm not introducing myself is because they go back and forth. I'm not gonna go look at the minutes from the planning board. I don't find a lot of minutes in the town website or whatever, so I'm not gonna look at that. But I wish that people identify themselves so we can know what they're thinking about.
Chris Boyce is the chair. I would ask Chris to introduce himself and go right down the road.
I know you well, Jack. Chris Boyce, Chairman of the Planning Board. I think we went through this at roll call, but
Alyssa Gamble.
Jason Palutro.
Sarah Jane Fornes.
Honor Merceray.
lot
the streets, how many cars can we have in this town? You know, in my neighborhood, we're developing a lot of units up there. And it's a center business district. And all of a sudden, we're gonna have, with no requirement for parking. Like the center of town, town hall, library. What's the limit here? I think there should be a parking regulator established
We have,
put on the vision if it's a private property of how many parking spaces they have on that piece of property, you know, considering the ADUs or otherwise. And, let's see where we stand about parking before it gets, it's out of hand now in a lot of places, but completely out of hand about where you're gonna find a parking space when you come home from work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on the ADUs? Yes, and Vasily, if you could come up to the mic, that would be awesome.
And I don't know if there can be an answer to this question, but so we're allowing people the opportunity to construct an ADU or fix up a basement to be an in-law apartment. Are these all going to be at market rate values, or are we going to see any affordability piece towards this? Because that's what everyone keeps talking about is affordability. If we don't have that piece, it's all going to be market rate units. So maybe something to consider. I'm not sure if that's what the state law has to bring up, but definitely a consideration. If we're going to start allowing these to come in by right, market rate is probably what a landlord is going to be looking for here to offset their mortgage or something like that. So maybe something to look at for the planning board. Thank you.
Thank you. And where this is a public hearing, if Councilor Cipolletta has something to say to that.
There was buried in the purpose and intent portion of the Affordable Homes Act that this was to promote or make available housing for individuals of all incomes and so on. It also puts a restriction or a prohibition on regulating, if you own the ADU, you can't regulate who's there. So if they're, whatever, if they can only afford whatever they can afford, you can't turn them away. And that's one of the things that they were pretty strict about, because it was one of their top three principles when they set out their purpose and intent, is to increase the affordable housing stock. Now, that's sort of self-regulating, and I get that. And I don't know whether there is a way to regulate that, because we don't get between a landlord and a tenant or a buyer and a seller. So you just have to be cognizant, and if we see a pattern developing, or if the state sees a pattern developing, because we do have reporting requirements attached to this as well, they'll want to see what's going on.
Any other comments on that? Yes, Mr. Sacco.
Todd Sacco, Precinct 2. I'm curious, with this 900 square feet, if I have an existing garage that is just a garage, more like acting like a shed, do I still have 900 available square feet for an ADU?
Yes, but not more than 900, or one half the gross floor area, whichever is less.
Okay, so then follow up. If I attach this 900 square feet to my existing home and transfer one room from the existing layout to the new layout, does that change anything?
Yeah, then you'd be going to site plan review. You might be, because you would be altering, it depends on whether your principal dwelling is conforming or non-conforming. If a pre-existing non-conforming structure, then that is going to implicate a special permit, maybe a variance, and it becomes very convoluted. So is it possible to do it? Yes. Is it worth all of the hassle and the money? Probably not. But you could use that 900 square feet in the garage as standalone.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
little bit confused by it.
Just name and precinct again for the record.
Erin Barcelos. I'm not sure what precinct I
That's
am.
Street.
Pleasant.
Thank you.
You said something about not being able to charge people, not be able to turn people away about charging money in some sort for rent or market value, somebody was saying?
I'm sorry?
You said the young man too before me had asked about market value, and then you said something along the lines of like, we can't like regulate that because you can't turn people, or people can only pay what they can pay. I didn't make sense to me.
No, that's something that the state has, in drafting its statute, took into account, is that they don't want people being turned away because they can't afford to live in the unit. And as part of and it's actually called the Affordable Housing Act. And that has as its primary goal to establish affordable housing. And what I was saying is if there was any inkling that there was widespread discrimination against low-income people, the state would be on us fairly quickly. We don't have the resources to do that on a day-to-day basis, but we do have to make reports to the state under this act. So if they see something or somebody picks up the phone and says, hey, I went down there and I wanted to rent this place and they gave me some ridiculous amount of money because they didn't want me there, then the AG would probably get involved in that.
So there'll be like regulations throughout the
Yeah,
town
but it would
for
be
that.
above us.
And there will be a reporting line.
We
and that
have a
kind of stuff?
reporting
Awesome.
requirement, yes.
Thank you.
Councilor Tassonawi had a question?
I did, I did see in here that whatever the unit has to be connected to town water and sewer, correct?
Yes.
So we're kinda getting ahead of ourselves when we talk about just throwing a unit into a garage that probably doesn't have town water and sewer connection. So there's that whole element of connecting it to those resources as a requirement that is also, it's another piece of the puzzle here. If you wanted to use a garage or a space that's not connected directly to your existing single family, correct?
You're right. You're right about that. And it could be a prohibition, either financially or practically, for somebody to use their garage, depending on how far off the line it is, to bring a gas line and a water main and all of that to it. But, I think what they had in mind was to have this accessory dwelling unit inside the existing home.
Right, okay.
But then they realized, well, we can't really do that because most towns allow accessory structures, so they're making it available to accessory structures, but also being cognizant of all of the health, environmental, and safety matters that are then implicated.
And that's part of our ordinance, is the connection to town water and sewer. It's not part of the state mandated or state template.
It is that, we adopted that from the state.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Director Calla. Yeah, I just wanted to just, if you could just come up to the mic for the CAT.
Making him walk around the room.
I just wanted to add to that, in-house unit, I don't see as a problem with the utilities. They're gonna be shared utilities. The outside unit does pose a problem, because you can't bring in a separate water and sewer service to a non-condoed unit. And these units can't be condominiums. A condominium would be a separately deeded unit. You could bring in a water and sewer, you could meter that water. You'd have a water account on that deeded unit. So if you're gonna have an outside unit, as our current policies and standards are, you would have to tap after you meter inside your home and come across your yard to that dwelling. You wouldn't be tapping the town's water or sewer main.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions from the Yes, Cassie.
Hi, Cassie Whithouse, Precinct 6. I think that it would be good to clarify with the state if they're just intending with that statement regarding what you can and cannot charge for rent. If they're just intending to state that you must comply with like fair housing law, because you can't post one rent in an advertisement and have someone come in and say, actually, I want you to pay $5,000 and change it right there just so that they can't be within that qualification anymore. So I'm hoping that was more of what they intended, that you just have to be clear in your advertising about what your prices are, and then take any qualifying applicant. That's really all that intends in
I agree
most
with you.
places.
I think their intent was to make full enforcement of the Fair Housing Act, but they do not want lower income people discriminated against.
Councilor Aiello?
Thanks, Mr. President. I want to get back to this off-street parking requirement again, and the definition of station. It says if you're within half mile of a station, so half mile of a bus stop. That is likely to encompass almost all of Winthrop when you get down to sort of the bus service that exists there. That's just our geography. So it's very likely that any accessory dwelling unit, or most of them, are not going to have a requirement for parking because of that. But we're going to get to the question of street side capacity, which is currently regulated by overnight parking stickers there. Is there any way or any consideration to try to limit the number of parking stickers that any unit might be able to have access to? Because this is going to be, in my mind, for any time there's an ADU, there's no requirement for parking. They'll apply for a sticker, and we're going to have even more of the kind of complaints we hear about, which is that there's no curbside parking available anymore in many neighborhoods. But you can't use the sticker program.
I don't know that we've
particular way, do we know?
investigated that yet, whether we could use the sticker program.
Could we look at it, see what other communities do?
Yeah,
Okay,
because we-
thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Dowd? Did you? If you could just come up to the mic, I had CAT can't. Thank you.
Jack Dowd, Precinct 1. Building practice in the past, if you wanted to build a shed or a garage, I believe the rule used to be, or maybe still is, that you would build it within 5 feet of the property line. I'm not sure if that still stands, within 5 feet.
It's 5 feet off the property line.
I want you to verify that.
Okay.
I think it was a court case. So within 5 feet. So I think that was established because neighbors didn't want to plop down a big shed, so to speak, and take up the whole backyard. That's why I think they put it off to the side in the past. So I'd like to verify that. And then getting back to the parking, we have to do something about it. Mr. Aiello just mentioned it again. It has to be taken care of. We have to know how many parking spaces, curb or otherwise, are in the town, so we can get an idea about what we're facing in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, yes, Alyssa.
Just piggybacking off of Mr. Dowd's comment about the setbacks for a garage typically. So if you had an existing garage that was 900 square feet and it was closer to the property line, like 5 feet away, that wouldn't be within the dimensional regulations of the single-family home. So would you be able to convert that existing structure without, do you know what I mean, since it should comply with the single-family setbacks?
So long as you didn't go outside the existing footprint of that structure, you would.
Okay.
Without a variance, without.
You could do that by right, okay.
Councilor DeMarco.
So, I don't know why we're having this conversation. I rent out a room in my basement, okay? Just a room. And I get $1,500 for it. okay? Like, what you do is your own personal business. I don't know why we're having this conversation for an hour, okay? You own a house, you want to rent out a room, you want to rent out an apartment, you do it.
Okay.
It's that simple, all right? This should not be regulated.
Okay. Yes, Vasily, thank you.
Vasily Malios, Precinct 1. How does the town going to benefit financially from this? Are we gonna see, I know we have people apply for permits and things, but can we boost up the price a little bit so that we can make some more money off of?
You see a reevaluation and then an increase in taxes as new growth.
Taxes, obviously, but, you know, if all the single families that went in front of the planning board and then the ZBA that got denied to become multifamilies, right? I can assume all of them coming back and saying, hey, that basement apartment you denied me for, it's under 900 square feet. Obviously, it has to check all the boxes off, right? They're going to come back. They're going to get it as of right. All set. Come right in, right? And now it's single family with an in-law. We should benefit a little bit from this and look at financial benefit. Take advantage of it, right? If it's as of right and the state's forcing us to do this, you know what? Make some money off of it.
Thank you, Vasily. Any other questions? We will close the public hearing. We want to thank immensely the planning board for coming this evening. It has been sent to you now. We will also be sending it to Rules and Ordinance. We hope to hear from you within a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. We know you're very busy, but again, thank you very much. The public hearing has been closed. You are free to leave.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
for
much.
coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We return to the regularly scheduled town council meeting, which has already been opened.
I think that would help people understand the scope.
And I will ask for approval of the April 15th minutes as circulated. Motion by Vice President Belcher, second by Councilor Tassinari. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
We won.
Go with Counselor Aiello.
One abstention, please. All right, under general information recommendations, we had a few items here. The first is to recognize and to give citations to Sean Donahue and George Barker for their incredible run of 40 years doing the Learn to Skate program. We thank them immensely. However, we're going to... It's incredible what they've done, and we're going to have much more to say about this. They could not make it tonight, so we are going to postpone that official citation until the next scheduled meeting. So again, I do thank them and applaud them as well, and we will have much more to say about them at the May 20th meeting. On that same line, Mary Lou Osborne, on her retirement, we have a citation for her. She's been an incredible advocate for the town in so many fronts. She is unable to make it tonight, and we want to be able to hand that to her in person, so we will also be doing that citation on the 20th. However, to take their place, we have a special guest with us tonight. It's coming crazy. It's coming to that time of year again that we're starting to think of the 4th of July, next year being the 250th anniversary of the country. I will ask former Chief Flanagan to come up to talk to us a little bit about what we can expect this 4th of July and potentially next.
Well, the other three couldn't make it. But the council president asked me to address the council out of respect for your positions. I took all precautions and rolled it out in front of the fire department yesterday on the phone to do things properly. But this year, we'll call this the official kickoff tonight. The 2025 4th of July fireworks will go off Friday night on the 4th, with a rain date of Saturday night, which is the ideal situation. The fireworks go off at 9:20. Everybody asks why 9:20. Well, due to our proximity to Logan Airport, The chief of the fire department or his designee that night will be in contact with the airport at 9 o'clock, saying we're wishing to fire at 9:20. They usually, with the summer, landing pattern, have to divert planes coming in over Point Shirley. And when they have the planes diverted, which usually takes about 15 minutes, they know it's coming up, but they're waiting for the call. They will call back the fire department personnel at the scene and say it's safe to go. And then 5 minutes from then, off we go. I've been raising the money since 2011. We started my first year, the fireworks was $7,000. They are now just south of $40,000. And the same type of things that affect us as homeowners, the cost of insurance goes up and up and up every single year. So where we are now, there'll be a lot of paperwork coming out with QR codes. You can scan the code and donate. The thing that I can ask you as councilors, because you all have your followers, your supporters, once these QR codes come out, if everybody can put them on their website and get them out. Last year, through Eventbrite, we raised almost $7,000 just doing it that way. I keep an updated mailing list every year. If you donate, you may get a Christmas card or whatever to, keep our addresses clean so when we send them out. But we'll send out roughly 400 solicitations of past donators. But again, there's always, you lose a few each year, so you're always hoping to gain a few. It's the same folks that when we had a pandemic donated food. There's a group of people in the town that keep all of the things that make it special. That when you don't have to on the 4th of July, if it's high tide at noontime, you had the Horribles parade, you're having a cookout all afternoon, and you don't have to leave town for fireworks. That's a great deal. And so this year we'll use social media, we'll use our solicitations. Due to the cost of mailing, we all know what that costs. I'll start doing the route, and the houses that I consider box seats, Washington Avenue, Shirley, and all through the Point and the Water Tower Hill, I drop flyers in their mailbox rather than send it out. So really the only cost to doing these is we buy sand that they put the largest shells in barrels and shoot them, and we pay the contractor. Originally, we started off with Atlas Fireworks. At the same time Atlas was shooting ours, they were shooting the 4th of July. They really didn't treat small towns that great, and we went to American Thunder, and they've done a great job, and they've been with us every year. So as of right now, July 4th, Friday night at 9:20, the fireworks will go off, hopefully weather cooperates. But I gotta thank public safety that makes it work out. The town foots that bill. Steve Calla is a huge help as far as getting the sand on site, cutting the grass. Richie Honan assists me a day or so after the fireworks. Atlas, under their contract, has to clean Coughlin Park. We walk it, we pick up the small plastic pieces and make sure we give the park back the way we get it. Some year we burn it off, but with the rain we've had lately, if it continues, that won't be a problem. But other than that, the cooperation of the town services, fire, police, everybody, that's it. But I promised the manager I'd give it one more year, and that will be next year, so maybe the council will give us an appropriation. But otherwise, when all of this stuff comes out, I have the Woodside sign this week, save the date, so that will start to get the people interested in donating. And for the sake of time, that's it. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. It's such an important part of the fabric of our town, and we appreciate immensely your help and leadership with this, with these fireworks over the past several years. So thank you all. There will be much more social media out, areas, opportunities to donate and such. And again, thank you, Chief Flanagan, for that. Public hearing, public comment. Public comment, yes, Leon.
Hi, Lee Foley, Precinct 6. I wanted to get up today to talk about the incident that happened in Winthrop a week and a half ago, when ICE came and took 2 residents. By all accounts, these 2 individuals are not the people that ICE was looking for. And if you want to find out more, I suggest you reach out to the owner of the company where the men were working, who the same thing happened to him. He was almost taken. But his wife came home in time and got his passport out and showed them that he was a U.S. citizen. So I guess I wanted to just talk about how we had a stand out on the bridge Saturday, which was very well attended, and we got a lot of positive responses from people driving by. And the business owner did come, as well as one of the families that were affected. I don't know if the town has managed to reach out to the families involved in this, but one gentleman has a newborn child, and the other one has 3 children, all in Winthrop schools, meaning that these children are probably going to school with your children or your grandchildren or your nieces and nephews. I know my sister personally taught one of them. And I just want to recognize this for the tragedy that it is for our town. And people have been very generous so far in helping to support the families. And I just hope that we can show that Winthrop does stay strong together and does stand out for people, whether or not we know them personally. I hope we can all come together and show our support. I know that I'm not naive. I don't think we can stop ICE from doing their work. Whether we agree with it or not, I think you can guess where I stand. But I think that just because we can't stop ICE doesn't mean we can't do anything. So I'm hoping that the town will be able to come together, continue to come together. These 2 men haven't had their hearings yet. One is coming up this week, another one we don't know. So I would just like to say that these are important residents of our town, whether we know them or not. And that's all.
Thank you very much. Celeste.
Celeste Rivera Hewitt, Precinct 1. Got a few things to say tonight. First off, I would like to take this opportunity to invite folks to the upcoming Climate Commission meeting that we have scheduled for next week, the 13th here. It's going to be a 2-hour event. We're going to be focusing on, it's workshop-based, focusing on coastal resiliency and talking about some relocation opportunities. We will have ice cream, so please come out and join us. And if you can't join us, reach out to us and we'll share some information. I also wanted to circle back on a request I made during the last council meeting about proclamations, and maybe it's pending, maybe I'm jumping the gun, with June on the horizon to observe both Pride and Juneteenth. I did follow up with forwarding some information that the federal government does recognize both of those observations, and I think that we can just echo that sentiment as a matter of reflex. And finally, I'd like to announce that I did pull papers yesterday for at-large town council, and I welcome any questions, any inquiries, and obviously your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget Jewish Heritage Month, which is
Chris,
now.
Chris.
Yes?
Yes, you're up. You're up.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Chris Wallace, Precinct 2. Just a couple comments here, and I just wrote things up because I'm going to forget some stuff here. But I'm just going to talk about the Revere Street project that I'm hoping to hear better news as what I've seen so far. But the projects from the Winthrop Marketplace view has been killing us. Our business, and I'm sure many other businesses that have been affected. I'm happy to see for the first time in about a month, I could actually walk across the street without maybe hurting myself, but then I just, coming from 90 degrees, going on Central Street, 711 Central Street, it's just a mess right at the beginning, so there goes that. But I've heard so many complaints and concerns from our customers regarding the road conditions. They feel unsafe to drive on Revere Street, let alone walk across it. And this is people of all ages, but especially those with wheelchairs, walkers, strollers, or any disability that makes it harder to get around. I understand that this is an ongoing construction site, but the roadways and walkways should be left in a manner that is accessible to walk or drive when the construction day is done. Unfortunately, that has not been the case as of yet. In addition, the inconsistent road signage has been a deterrent for our customers. In the beginning, there were signs stating that the businesses are open during construction, but I haven't seen those signs in a while. I've seen a lot of signs for detours, road closures, or there's been signs for not a throughway, end pavement, but the signs for businesses are open, I have not seen those. So I just hope that as this project continues, other businesses and residences, especially, it can be so loud. Like our building is constantly shaking. I'm sure many other houses along the road constantly shaking. So I'm hoping that they are not have to go through what we've been constantly going through. I hope that the roads are left in better conditions daily, and that will be better signage used and better communication to the public. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Vasily.
Vasily Malleus, Precinct 1. I'd like to shout out to DPW. They cleared a couple of trees that were hanging over from the cemetery into my backyard. I was not the one that called, but the trees ended up coming down, so thank you to your crew, and they cleared out all the brush. We have the Center Business District, and I'm not trying to step on toes here with the farmers market, but is there any way possible of trying to get a couple of days over at the center? That way it could help benefit the businesses around there. We're putting it so far away, and we created an area that's supposed to be multi-use. It's a cement foundation. I think it would be a nice opportunity to support our businesses, especially because the farmers market does get a fantastic crowd. It would be wonderful that the local businesses would also benefit as well. So just, I'm not saying change the whole thing, but give them a couple of days down the center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Kinlan, Precinct 2. First thing, I just wanted to send a shout out to, I haven't been here in a minute, so retroactively, shout out to Councilor Swope for really showing up in person on the bridge for all those standouts for the override, the fire station. One thing that people really, really love is to see the representatives there in person, hitting the pavement, braving the weather. There was some really lousy weather for some of those standouts. And that just was very reassuring at a time that was very uncertain for a lot of us, where, the outcome was certainly, up in the air. So that was great. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. I just wanted to, I showed up late. I'm sorry. I don't know if this was addressed, so at the risk of, addressing it before anybody else does, I just wanted to say regarding the stepping down of Councilor Munson, to thank him for his service to our precinct. In my opinion, in this man's opinion, Councilor Munson represented Precinct 2 faithfully, honorably, and some of the times that I felt most represented in this room and in the hearing room, we're hearing him and Chief Delahanty speak eloquently in defense of the issues that my neighborhood, especially the Morton Street neighborhood, was facing, and what some of the things that could be done to, better solve these issues were. And he really, felt those issues deeply, part of our neighborhood, and yeah, I think his presence is going to be sorely missed. I would urge, on that note, especially the council president, to consider opening his seat up to appointment. I think Precinct 2, with all the myriad issues, but the Morton Street area, Towson and Girlstone, those areas deserve representation in the months between now and when a new councilor is elected. It's something that I genuinely feel the people of Precinct 2 have earned and deserve, and I think it would be behoove the council president to take that into consideration, that there are people out there who are willing to do that work and represent those constituents in the next, 9 months, 10 months. It's a long while. And that's about all I have to say for now. Thank you for your time.
All right, any other public comment, first round? Yes?
I'll be quick. Erin, Pleasant Street, corner, Sunnyside, so.
Precinct 5.
5, is it? All right, awesome. What Lee was saying, I want to invite you guys all to our standout that we're going to be having on Saturday, and we'll continue to have it on Saturday until our 2 neighbors are released. We are working with their, we have a group that has randomly started off of the incident. I happened to be out there the day that it happened, and then I ran into other people. After that, I didn't know anybody in Winthrop. I've lived here for 2.5 years. So as sad as this is, it's horrible, it's actually creating community, and we want to make sure we're creating that community around these families that are directly affected as well. So it would really be wonderful if anyone would want to come out, say hi, hold the sign. But we're going to do it. We're going to continue. So I don't know.
Thank you. You could bring it up.
Walk
Yes.
behind us.
You could bring it, absolutely. Thank you very much. Any other public comments? All right, close that round of public comment. Correspondence, Denise?
I have not received any.
Committee reports. Rules and ordinances, just want to put this down as a quick update on the Ordinance Review Committee. Vice President Belcher?
So the ORC has continued to meet. Karen Chavez is chairing that committee, and we're working through the charter. There will be a public hearing on June 18. That will be an opportunity for the public to hear what the commission is looking at and suggesting, and they can offer their feedback there.
All right, thank you. Finance Committee, there has not been a meeting, but I just wanted to remind the Finance Committee that I had sent back a couple of months back a request for them to look at free cash policy. We've had free cash certified. We want to be able to make some motions, so I am hoping that they will get a meeting together prior to our next meeting. We will move to the school department report, and we had a school committee meeting last evening. A few topics that they discussed. One, they were talking about how excited the students at the ATC and the Goldman Fort Banks are about a project through the DPW. They're getting to name a new fire truck, and they're very happy about that. There's been stuff going home. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interesting names that come from that, so that's an exciting thing for the younger kids to be doing. Also, the superintendent spoke about her meeting with the Finance Commission. Finance Commission is in the middle of their deliberations with the town budget, and they meet with various department heads. The schools being basically 60% of the budget. They get the luxury of having 2 meetings with the FinCom. So the superintendent did meet with the FinCom last week. She made her presentation. The FinCom had some excellent questions for her. They will gather some feedback, and they will meet again, I believe, May 22nd with the schools again. So the superintendent did mention that meeting. May 7th, I think tomorrow is walk, bike, roll to the elementary schools. So I encourage parents, kids to stay involved with that. And as crazy as it seems, the school committee also last night talked about senior week, senior night. May 23rd is senior all night, the senior all night celebration. May 27th is the promenade at the high school, and then the prom, which will be held at Danvers Port Yacht Club. The superintendent informed us that that's where she had her prom back a few years back. May 28th will be class night, and graduation will be May 30th. It just seems like it gets quicker and quicker every year. So that is the school department update. Update on policy committee meetings, we don't have right now. We will have at the next meeting. Town manager's report will be coming up, and I will say before the town manager starts on his report, just in answer to just to bring up, I had spoken to the town manager about farmers markets and about the possibility of looking into having several dates where we're able to either close off Hagman Road maybe for that portion of the day to encourage more business traffic and or use the center in the area that Vasily spoke about. So that is definitely on the agenda. And I would like, I know, I want to thank the marketplace for being here, and I know the town manager is going to mention that, so I'll let the town manager talk about that also in his report. So I'll hand it over to Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I did put the town manager report is online. I do want to highlight a couple of things. Obviously, a few things that came up in public comment. First thing I want to highlight is we are hosting, I know we've talked a lot about getting proper sand sizes and for the Euro Beach, you know, for the coastal dune that we have to put out there. We are gonna do an update meeting out at the Point Shirley Association next Tuesday, May 13th at 6 p.m. We were able to secure the room. We'll be advertising that obviously in my weekly blog and reaching out to the Point Shirley residents that have been attending. We've got an email list, so we'll make sure they know as well. With regard to the fire station, we did have the request for qualifications, or an RFQ that we put out on the street. We did receive that last week on May 1st, and we were able to get 9 submissions, which was great for owner's project manager. We're currently going through them. The way that works is you basically set out criteria that we listed in the request for qualifications, and that gets graded as, you know, highly advantageous, advantageous, not advantageous. So we'll get there'll be a point total that'll be assigned to each one. We'll be asking the Firehouse Building Committee to rank them. We hope to get that scoring sheets done and then get it down to, you know, 3 finalists that we can interview and get rolling on that project. The Revere Street Tip Project, obviously, we get many emails and phone calls about that. Director Cal and I talk about that probably 2 or 3 times a day. As I concluded in my town manager report, one of the challenges that we're facing out there, and I'll let Director Cal elaborate, but is we've got very shallow utilities out there, so it can't be a normal, you know, normally you'd go through and like we did on Revere Street, we'd go in and tear it up, do one side, do the other. We've got very shallow utilities out there that Mass DOT is working with us on, and we've also had, because of all the utility work that had to happen before with the water lines, the stormwater, the tie-ins for National Grid, we've got a lot of unsuitable material. So the road was already not in great shape, so it's got to really be taken down to the core, remove the unsuitable material and put down the, you know, the better dense grade packing material that they're putting down now. We're certainly working with them. Unfortunately, the original plan, and we're working on to fix this, was to, you know, pave on May 28th, but obviously given what's going on down there, we're trying to accelerate that, and the developers reached out to the paving contractor to see if we can do that, and offering up, you know, similar to what we did on Crest Ave and Revere Street, maybe evening paving as well, to try to streamline that and get it done as fast as we possibly can. And I'll let Director Calla jump in if I missed anything.
I don't think you missed much.
Okay.
Essentially it. I mean, I met with them today, I met with the state, I met with the Valley contractor today. You know, we're all seeing the same as everybody's seeing. You know, it's frustrating. The time it's taking is frustrating. That said, in the position I'm in construction background, what they're doing has to be done. They put a road over that unsuitable material. You're gonna have the road's not gonna hold up. We're gonna do all this work, and it's gonna be for naught. We're gonna be doing the same thing 10 years from now. So, that said, we need to find a way to expedite it, and they're open to our request to potentially pave at night. They've asked if they could work some Saturdays to move it along. Speaking on behalf of the town, I said we want to expedite this, and then I did think that the nighttime paving would certainly be accepted. It's only one night. They'll get that, what's open paved in one night. That'll be the 2-way with the base, and then the intermediate bind up, and then the only thing that'll be left afterwards at the end of the project will be the final surfacing. see if they would be able to accommodate a night paving, which would change their mobilization dates a little bit, hopefully move it up a week or a week and a half. And that's what we're going for. I won't have those answers probably until tomorrow. He was meeting with his contractor today. So as soon as I get the information, I'll pass it on to the manager and disperse it however.
Thank you, Director Calla. And also, we did, obviously, during public comment, we heard about I didn't realize about the business signs weren't being put up, so we'll reach out to Arabelli and make sure we accommodate that. I apologize for that. You know, you've both got my cell phone number, so please, in the future, call me directly, and we'll make sure we take care of it, so I apologize for that. And certainly open to questions from the council members with regard to anything else that I may have come up or.
Vice President Belcher.
Thank you. Just on the note of detours and signage, I had a couple residents reach out to me that said some detour signs lead to nothing or into another detour.
Right.
So just if we can try and make sure everything is pointing to a usable road.
Sure. Absolutely.
And then also a question on the Ural Beach meeting. Will we be able to circulate the administrative consent order and the management plan ahead of that meeting so people have a chance to read it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. We'll get it up on the website for sure. And I believe we did distribute it to some of the residents already, but yeah, we'll make sure
I've distributed it here and there, but to
Yep.
that email listed on the website would be wonderful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Councilor Swope.
I just wanted to mention, because it came up in public comment, and I know we were in executive session, where we did hear a bit about, but nothing more, about the incident that has happened.
We can't talk about anything that was discussed in executive session.
Right. That was reported, I was on the bridge. It's hard when you hear from the people involved. The pain of the incident is great to them. We don't know. I mean, the courts will have to work on this. We really don't know all of what went on, but we certainly did hear it from the side of those people that were involved. So when national incidents come to Winthrop, we all suffer, and it's hard. So I'm hoping for the best outcome of this, and I know that our police do care very much about the safety of Winthrop. They are not involved, and this is an ICE incident. We don't have local authority in this situation, but I do have a lot of compassion for the entire issue, and my heart goes out to those who were involved.
Any other questions? Councilor Costa.
Yeah, I just want to make note, in regards to the construction, the TIPS program, same thing. As far as Councilor Belcher, my issue was the deplorable direction of cars and the frustration and the phone calls I was getting, wondering who actually, who actually was coordinating all of that. It was just, I was caught in it, and I was furious myself. So I just want to make sure that who's ever running the program down there, there should be further oversight. I'll be more in tune with that area of town since it falls in my precinct. I apologize, Mr. Wallace, for your business. I know you're just trying to run a business, and every day is critical when it comes to revenue. So I'll be more involved as we go forward as well. Thank you, Mr. Caller, as well.
Thank you.
All set, thanks.
Just, Council President, if I could, one other thing that I forgot to mention, sorry. And it wasn't in my town manager report, and I did get a follow-up call finally today on it from MWRA with regard to the truck. We were trying to get a follow-up. The gentleman I needed to speak to was away on vacation, so I finally got back. They did isolate the incident that, caused the horrible, pungent odor out there on Point Shirley that day. They have a protocol in place that when those trucks, they don't leave often, but when they leave, they have a trailer car that follows them when they leave out of there. That did happen that day, but unfortunately what happened was there was a small, whether it was air or leak out of the front of the truck, and which has since been rectified, and they took that truck out of service and repaired it. They didn't know when it left, and it got missed, so he does apologize for that. They have put protocols in place to do a better visual inspection and check the trucks when they leave, and they'll rectify that, and that truck has been taken out of service and since repaired, and the new trucks, don't have that issue. But I did want to say that they did get back to me. they did explain the protocols. They are, it was a mistake, and, hopefully it's rectified and doesn't happen again. But I brought it up during my last meeting, so I wanted to make sure I followed up with the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Old business, I'm going to pass this to Vice President Belcher. We had asked for a approved letter to go to the MBTA. I want to give her the opportunity and thank her for her leadership in this endeavor. And Vice President Belcher.
Thank you. Would you like me to read the letter
Please,
in its entirety?
if
Okay.
you'd like,
Sure.
unless there's a motion not to.
Okay. All right. Dear Secretary Tibbetts Nuts and General Manager Eng, we begin this letter with a deep note of thanks regarding the Winthrop Ferry, despite not having received a formal response to our 2 previous letters, which are attached for reference. We appreciate formally becoming part of the MBTA ferry network in the purchasing of 2 ferry boats and direct and frequent 20-minute weekday service to and from Boston. We are, however, disappointed by the lack of direct marketing by the MBTA, as well as the provision of marketing materials to the town that would allow us to become an effective partner in promoting the service. The fare for the Winthrop Ferry is also a disappointment. The fare is much too high given Winthrop's proximity to the city and the level of service this ferry line provides. For the benefit of our riders, we would also like to see a more streamlined integration of Charlie card usage for ferry fares, as well as dedication to the ability to purchase fares on the M-Ticket app. We hope that the appropriate official immediately contacts Town Manager Tony Marino to create a plan to cure these disappointments. In our previous letters, we also sought improvements in the MBTA bus service. We again would like to point out that there is not a single MBTA-provided bus shelter in the town of Winthrop. Our request for this is to establish a program where the T would pay for and install at least 5 bus shelters before October 1st, 2025. We believe starting a shelter program would increase ridership, as passengers can be sheltered from cold winds, driving rain, sleet, or snow in the hottest days of the year. We've also asked you to review the previously stated T plans to drop service to Point Shirley and Deer Island as part of the bus network redesign project. While we appreciate that the originally suggested route has been extended to the Winthrop Landing, service to Deer Island is paramount in ensuring equitable access for all, a noted goal of this program. There is an additional item we would like to collaborate on. MBTA buses are continuously caught on Saratoga Street on their way from Winthrop to Orient Heights. This dramatically slows the trip for bus passengers. The problem lies at or near the intersection of Saratoga Street and Bennington Street. Winthrop has tried to encourage the city of Boston to address this issue. We would love to see the T forcefully advocate for their buses along this section of roadway. We're hopeful that working in partnership with the MBTA will help us advocate to the city of Boston for changes to be made at the Orient Heights intersection. To close, let us reiterate and emphasize that we need more and better T service, not less. We know that is also your goal. We want to partner with you via permanent and frequent dialogue to improve the use of transit. Thank you. Sincerely, the Winthrop Town Council.
Thank you. Thank you for that. It's been distributed, circulated to the council. Is there a motion to approve the letter and send?
Motion?
Motion by Councilor
Second.
Swope, second by Councilor DeMarco. Any further discussion? Again, thank you for taking the lead on that. It's greatly appreciated. Councilor Ayala.
Yeah, just the councilor's persistence on this matter. I think it's great results so far. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. I think we've been on this journey for 25 years since we got the first ferry to now have an MBTA ferry permanently. That's just wonderful, and all these other things, let's keep pushing at them and improve it for our citizens. So thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you. New business, the accessible dwelling units, the ADUs, will be referred to Rules and Ordinance. Appointment, there is one appointment this evening. Council President Lettieri would like to make an appointment of Judy Van Coinman to the Affordable Housing Committee. There's motion made by Vice President Belcher, second by Councilor Swope. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you, and thank you, Judy, for volunteering for such a post. The next is, it's written down as Council Rules and Procedures update, but it's all-inclusive kind of an item that I wanted to discuss. Some of it was brought out earlier this evening in a public comment, and I want to take this opportunity to announce the resignation of Councilor Munson from the Winthrop Town Council. Councilor Munson sent me an email midweek last week, where he expressed his gratitude to the council and his love of this town, and how much he regrettably thought it was best for him to step down now, concentrate on his business, concentrate on his family. His priorities are in order, and this was also mentioned before, but you know, Councilor Munson was unique in a lot of ways that he, and he still is, he really listened to his constituents, and I would like to say every council listens to their constituents, but he took it to the next level. He really got involved, really went down to their residents, got involved in whatever problem there was, brought it to the forefront of the council, and then continued to really be a voice, a strong voice for his constituents. So his presence will be missed, and I thank him for his leadership on the council, and you know, being that council for Precinct 2, he did a remarkable job, so thank him for that, and for his service to this town. I just want to talk a little bit about the procedure. You know, it's kind of coincidental that we're going through the Ordinance Review Committee, talking about the charter, and the week prior to this was discussion about certain articles of the charter, and one involved councilors and resignation, and how it's replaced. So the council is pretty specific on this, the charter is pretty specific on this. If a precinct councilor resigns within 6 months of the next biannual town election, the seat is vacant until that time. Councilor Munson resigned effective immediately last week, which is 6 months and a week. So go back to the charter, it states, and a precinct councilor is to resign more than 6 months from the next biannual election. The council will pick a successor through a majority vote of the council. That successor will stay in office, in this case for Precinct 2, until the next biannual election, which is November. Councilor Munson's term didn't end until 2027. So there will be ultimately a choice made by a majority, 5 votes on this current town council, to name a replacement who will serve until the November election. Technically will serve until January 1st or 2nd of next year. So as we're talking about pulling papers and such, as of next week, there will also be the opportunity to pull papers for Precinct 2. Whoever is ultimately named by the council to succeed Councilor Munson will be serving until November. They will also be eligible to pull papers to continue on that seat, as well as anyone else is eligible to pull papers to complete that term. So in November, Precinct 2 would be on the ballot for a 2-year term. So again, with the limitations with the transcript into how they're reporting now, with their closing date being Monday, minutes from this meeting and discussions from this meeting, we will post for advertisement in the transcript, which would probably be a week from Thursday, looking for letters of interest. Anybody who might be interested in fulfilling that seat until the next biannual election. We will take letters of interest through the end of the month. We will then have an interview process through the town council. It could go to committee on committees to come out with recommendations, come back for interviews, and then it will be selected and voted on. There'll be a nomination process from councilors based on the letters of intent. It will then be voted on by the council. If it's 4-4, it would go to a second vote. If there are multiple members, the top 2 vote getters in the first round would go on to the second round, and ultimately somebody would need 5 votes to succeed Councilor Munson. So I wanted to update everybody as to that policy, and again, thank Councilor Munson for his years of service to the Winthrop Town Council and to the citizens of Winthrop, specifically the residents of Precinct 2. Also, we've talked about several times over the past several months about certain council rules and attendance and subcommittee meetings and such, and, you know, I've asked the council clerk, the town clerk, to get me some information since the beginning of this calendar year, and, you know, this is the third time we've talked about this, and again, this is not in any way an insult to any individual counselor. It is not an insult to me as council president if somebody cannot attend a meeting. To me, it's a disservice to the constituents they serve. And, you know, one of the items we were talking about, again, as we talk about pulling papers and such, was to have, and maybe this is something on the council, but to have a job description, so to speak. So when somebody is pulling papers, we had a few tonight mention that they had. When somebody does pull papers, they have to sign a sheet to pull the papers. They give their citizens their finance stuff and all that. They're given their papers to get signed and such, but there really isn't a discussion about what you're signing up for. So I did draft something that I'm going to get through, and ultimately we would like to have people who are pulling papers be aware of what they're signing up for, be aware of the number of meetings involved, be aware of the subcommittees that potentially are involved, be aware of the time commitment. So there's a better understanding. But, you know, after looking again through attendance and such, we've had 8 meetings, 8 full regularly scheduled meetings of the council since January 1st. We've had 3 meetings where we've had full attendance. So we've had 37% of our meetings with full attendance. You know, we had a spring forum, which is set out in the charter. The spring forum and the fall forum are 2 meetings that we hold in this hall so we can have members of the public learn more about town government and about what services are being offered by our department heads. We require department heads to show up at these meetings. And we had a regularly scheduled council meeting prior to it. We had 7 out of the 9 at the regularly scheduled meeting. We only had 4 out of the 9 stay for a 45-minute presentation. And, you know, I want councilors to understand how much the department heads appreciate them listening, us, the councilors, the elected members of this town, how much we respect them. And, you know, I think it's important that we look into that. I also looked into subcommittee meetings. We have 7 subcommittees of the town council, which we've tried to kind of consolidate and make less. Since January 1st, we've had, you know, intergovernmental relations with 0 meetings, public works with 0 meetings, appointments committee commission 1 meeting. We've had capital assets economic development with 4 meetings, rules and ordinance with 4 meetings, finance with 4 meetings. So we've had 13 meetings, and, you know, I've heard comments from, I get calls, I've heard comments from the public asking for minutes, and out of those 13-minute meetings, we've had 2 sets of minutes posted online. So, you know, these are incredibly trying times for a lot of people, a lot of stuff going on. But I know every one of these councilors now and in the past, and I'm hopeful in the future, love this town and care about this town, and are all trying to do the right thing. But I just believe we owe the citizens everything we have to give as far, you know, no councilor is doing this for the money. They're doing it, I would believe, for the love of the town, but they have to put in, I'm hoping to see more effort, and, you know, Finance Commission has met, and it's an incredible amount of work. We're talking about an $80 million budget. That will come back to the council. I've encouraged councilors over the past, even if you're not on the Finance Commission, Finance Committee, to go to these meetings, to understand the budget, to learn the numbers, and the attendance is sparse at best. So I just want to reiterate that. I know we've talked about it before, and I think it's my responsibility to give updates to the public. And also, moving on to the next agenda item, with the resignation of Councilor Munson and some other items, I will be sending out to the council via email an updated subcommittee list as of the end of this week. There's a lot of important stuff that we have going on, and we want to make sure that that work continues. We have a, do I have anything else here? No. We have a second round of public comment open now. Right, Mr. Millar, correct. Vasily.
All right, Vasily Malis, Precinct 1. Given that there is poor attendance and that historically there's been several counselors who just walk on because there is no competition in certain precincts, I would like to recommend to the council, but also I know that the Ordinance Review Committee is bringing up some things, and I know that the previous council shut this down, but I really do think we need to minimize the council, get it down to councilors at large with a council president, 6 councilors at large, very similar strategy to what the school committee is. You take your top best candidates and they get those seats. You guys are here to represent everybody. In the end, you all decide on, you take a roll call vote and you make a decision for the entire town. I'll give you a prime example, changing Somerset Ave to a one-way. Councilor Aiello, that's your precinct, but everybody else voted on it and made a decision. Think about it. More competition brings the same representation, and it shortens down, and you don't have these problems with attendance because some people may feel obligated to run because there's no one running. So, thank you.
Thank you. Kurt?
All right, Kurt Millar, Precinct 2. I'm actually here to speak about something very fun, and I'm glad it's coming back, and I'm going to be part of it again. So it's the I Love Winthrop Festival. A bunch of years ago, I know Blackstrap and the Chamber of Commerce kind of was kicking it off, and we had a few years of it. I donated my time to it. Proud to always be part of that. You know, I give of my time to that, and now it's coming back again. So the Winthrop Business Leadership Council is driving this. We are looking for volunteers. You can go on their Facebook page, Winthrop Business Leadership Council. There's QR codes in there. You can send them a message if you're willing to volunteer. We're looking for sponsors. We're looking for more vendors. I will be playing the music there as usual. It's always a great time. So many memories from the past of having those. It's pretty amazing to see how many people actually turn out. It will be June 21st from 12 to 4 p.m. So anybody who wants to come and help, join in on the fun, you know, just send a message to the Facebook page, Winthrop Business Leadership Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Cassie?
Hi, Cassie Woodhouse, Precinct 6. Winthrop Working Together is hosting another walking tour this weekend. That will be the 10th at 2 p.m. We'll meet at 42 Woodside in the center. We'll go through some streets that are in the Maze neighborhood and circle back around. I just heard that Mexico en tu Casa has michelada mixer, so I'm thinking I'm going to grab something at Sweats when we're done, which is one of the buildings you can see on the tour and in a historic photo that we'll have, and grab a tall boy and then go over to Mexico en tu Casa and hang out. So that's my plan, and I hope to see people there.
Thank you. Tom?
Tom Dudarian, Precinct 3. You know, there's an evil weed growing on Point Shirley. On both sides of the staircase, from Bellows to Siren, the knotweed was growing, was taking over, but a gang of volunteers came and did war against the knotweed. And it's not all gone, but mostly gone. There's Cynthia, Scott, and members of the tree committee were there, and Hannah Belcher was there and got really dirty digging up all that knotweed and is beginning to appreciate earthworms. And members of the tree committee came along and planted a red bud there. I planted a couple of ginkgos today. So we're making Winthrop more beautiful, and a lot of volunteers have come in with some plants to put along the side there. So that's very appreciated, and I just wanted to spread the word about that.
Thank you so much, Tom. Mr. Dowd.
Milk.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Public relations, upcoming events. So we've talked about it a few times tonight. Nomination papers are out. The election calendar is as follows, and this is on the website. Nominations have been available since 2 days, yesterday, at Town Hall, at the clerk's office, room 5. Nomination papers may be obtained only by a candidate or a person representing a signed authorization letter. At stake are positions available. Council President, 2-year term, there's 1 seat available. Councilor at Large, there is a 4-year term, 1 seat available. Precinct 1, a 4-year term, 1 seat available. Precinct 2, a 2-year term, 1 seat available. Precinct 3, a 4-year term, 1 seat available. Precinct 5, a 4-year term, 1 seat available. Housing Authority, there is a 4-year term, 1 seat available. Library Trustee, there is a 4-year term, 3 seats available. School Committee, there are 4-year term, 3 seats available. You could obtain papers from now to September 16th. By September 16th, those papers have to be sent back to the clerk's office. Signatures have to be certified. For a precinct person, you need 50 signatures. For an at-large candidate or a town-wide office, you need 150. November 4th is Election Day. Again, polls will be open 7 to 8. We're a little ahead of ourselves there. But, you know, participation is key to maintaining our town now and into the future, so we encourage people to go out, pull papers. Also, we encourage you to participate in the 2025 Community Health Needs Assessment. And to get more information on that, please visit the town's website. And also, as mentioned earlier, the Winthrop Ferry is up and running. Schedule is on the Winthrop website, and weekends will begin May 24th. I believe that's Memorial Day weekend. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilor Swope, second by Councilor DeMarco. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.